Okay guys, so let's talk about what happens when, let's say your calorie deficit stops working. So when we start out on this nutrition journey, we're generally overweight and we want to do something about it, so we want to lose weight. So what we have to take into account when we do the calculations to work out the right kind of calories that you should be on is we take into account your BMR, so your basal metabolic rate, and your BMR is basically if you were to just lie down all day but be alive, how many calories would you burn? Then we take into account your NEAT activity, which is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and that plays a massive part in your calorie burn throughout the day. That's all the things like fidgeting, like I'm sitting here on this video, I'm moving a bit, I'm fidgeting, a lot of hand sort of gestures and all that sort of stuff. And it's like NEAT is not exercise related, so say like a walk to work, or you know, taking the stairs instead of a lift, all that sort of stuff is like NEAT activity, and that contributes massively to our daily calorie burn. You also have things like obviously your exercise activity. Surprisingly, that doesn't have as big of an effect on your total daily needs as what people think. And people think that they can, you know, they might overdo it and have like 1,000 extra calories on the weekend, but you know what, I'll just train harder and make up for it. Chances are you probably won't, because exercise expenditure doesn't actually contribute that much to your sort of total calorie expenditure. So we've covered BMR, which is our basal metabolic rate, we've covered NEAT, and we've covered exercise activity. And another thing that we burn calories from is the thermic effect of food. So when we eat food, we also burn calories. However, when we go into a calorie deficit, we're eating less food, so technically we're burning less calories. This is why, amongst other reasons, we give you a high protein target, because protein has the highest thermic effect of food, and you will burn more calories eating protein than you will any other macronutrient. So that's why we have protein targets nice and high, so that we can try and keep that up, as well as preserve muscle mass, potentially build muscle mass within the journey of a calorie deficit. So once we've taken all those into account and all those things, we've done a couple of calculations and we initially get your starting calories. And when you sign up with me, I like to start our calories on the higher end. So the first 2 weeks you might be at a maintenance level, so your weight might not move, but we've established that maintenance level. Then from there, we haven't lost weight, so we're like level. We're putting in the same amount of food and energy as we're expending, so our weight stays the same. So then we know from there that, you know, if we come down 200 calories, we're going to be in a 200 calorie deficit every day. So 200 times 7 is 1,400 calories. So across the week, we're going to be in a 1,400 calorie deficit. Now, a pound of fat is theoretically 3,500 calories. So we're near on just under sort of half a pound loss a week at that rate. So we've dropped that 200 calories. We're at that sort of rate where we can lose half a pound a week. So, but that's not going to be continuous week by week, because as we lose weight, our basal metabolic rate drops. As we lose weight and as our calories drop lower, other things are going to lower, like our NEAT activity, because our body is trying to conserve our energy because it's really good at keeping us alive, right? So if we're not putting out as much, our body's going to if we're not taking in as much, our body's not going to put out as much. So those things like your NEAT activity, like facial expressions, will start to not happen as much. Hand gestures, you'll feel a bit more tired, a bit more fatigued. So at that point, when our 200 calorie deficit stops, we've actually theoretically hit maintenance again. So we then move the calories down, like 100. So then we go into a bigger deficit, and then we lose weight again, and then eventually our metabolism is going to catch up with us because we're lighter. So our basal metabolic rate has dropped. We're eating less food, so our NEAT activity has dropped because we've got less energy. Our thermic effect of feeding or food, we're not eating as much, so that's going to have dropped. So our metabolism has changed now to our new calorie target, so that's maintenance again. So then what we have to do is we have to drop again, and we keep repeating the same cycle. You might find that 100 calorie drop might do you wonders for like 2 to 3 weeks, and we don't have to change weekly, and that's fine. But ultimately, what we're trying to achieve is we're trying to get you to eat as much as possible whilst losing weight. The worst thing we can do is take your calories straight down to that sort of 1,000 mark, because when our calories get down to that 1,000 mark, as I've said in the previous part of this video, when we drop our calories, we obviously lose weight. So we're going to lose weight very fast on 1,000 calories, but equally our basal metabolic rate is going to drop very fast. Our NEAT activity is going to drop super fast because we're not putting in anywhere near as much energy as we need. Our thermic effect of feeding is going to drop massively because we're not eating anything, and it's just going to get to the point where it's going to be very unsustainable at that sort of 1,000 calorie mark. And we get to that 1,000 calorie mark, we can maybe last there a couple of weeks, and it gets really emotional. But by then our metabolism is only putting out 1,000 calories and we're at maintenance, and our weight has stopped moving. So what do? We give up, and then we eat way more food again, so we go back to eating normally. And when we go back to eating normally, we forget our maintenance level is down at 1,000, but we're eating sort of 2,000 calories a day. So we're eating 1,000 extra calories a day, and if we go back to thinking about 1 pound of fat weighs 3,500 calories, if we're eating 1,000 extra calories a day on our metabolic rate from dropping super low in a stupid diet, you're effectively gaining 2 pounds of fat a week until your metabolism catches up with you. So that's why when you drop your calories too fast with like more of like the fad diets, you regain more weight than when you started, because you give up because your metabolism's so low, and then when you start eating normally again, you're eating way more and you're just gaining fat whilst your metabolism tries to catch up with you. So my take from this, and this is what I do for all my clients and obviously you guys that are watching, I work out my calculations, I give you as much food as I physically can, and then I get you to lose weight very slowly and gradually along the process. And by doing that, our metabolism is going to thank us because it's not getting like thrown around so much, and it's also easier to keep that weight off like forever. So I hope that video helped.